Hey there, bookkeeping side hustle community. We are here with our second stream with Ted McRae from MakersHub. You'll recall last week that he taught us about value pricing and how to use value pricing. That video is critical to this discussion today because I'm pretty sure he's gonna teach us that we need to be able to value price to make AP profitable. So there's a link to that video below, and then there's also a video. A link to get started with MakersHub. So both of those will be in the description. But today we're basically going to just sort of walk through the nuts and bolts of how an accounts payable service can be profitable because of technology. I think in the past it's probably not one of the sexier things a bookkeeper can do, but with what Ted is going to show us, advances in tech have allowed us to have this be a profitable service you can offer to your clients, you can upsell to your clients. So Ted, just kind of give us the little brief background of who you are before we get into you teaching us.
Thank you. So again, my name is Ted McRae. I've been in the accounting industry for 30 years. I'm going to make the joke anyway. I know I don't look like it. I look like about 20. But so I worked in leadership roles at ADP, at Paychex, and then I went over to, like I said before, a tiny little company called Intuit. And then I went to Xero from there, and I'm here at MakersHub now as well. And the reason I came over here, because I was working at Accounting Suite. I had been there almost 8 years. And I had a recruiter call me and tell me about MakersHub, and then they showed me the product. And because I'm such a self-proclaimed nerd, that the technology absolutely blew me away. And Kate, one of the biggest reasons is because I went to Scaling New Heights, I think 3 years ago, whenever it was in St. Louis, and I had like 15 to 20 CPA groups come up to me and talk about like what Accounting Suite needed to do, because Accounting Suite does a lot of customization. And one of the things that they said was, we need something that can compete with like a Bill.com. We need something that you can actually compete with like a Dext or whatever it was, that can extract data easily and then put it into QuickBooks Online or whatever it is, because the products that they had out there wasn't doing the job well enough. So when I saw this, I'm like, holy smokes, this is just what people were talking to me about. And then because I love the whole, I was pretty in the whole firm of the future for QuickBooks. I was a pretty big proponent of getting them onto that when I first started working at QuickBooks or Intuit the second time. And so when I saw this, I'm like, look at how much this can help a value-based business using something that eliminates just about data entry. And that's the one thing that can really mess up a value-based business, is doing unvaluable tasks or invaluable tasks, right? And tasks that take a long time. So that's where we're going to talk about hopefully today, is like, how do we get more efficient? Because saying I'm a value-based practice is great, but now what you need to focus on is, how can I do things quicker? Because the quicker you can do things, the more money you can make, or the more efficient you can do things.
Right, or maybe you make the same amount of money, but you're working less.
Exactly.
That kind of appeals to me. I'm more about my implied hourly rate, my effective hourly rate, than my gross revenue numbers. For me,
right.
I like to say I'll put my effective hourly rate against, most people. I don't really care. Gross revenue doesn't impress me, because I don't know how much cost, including your own cost, going into that. So yeah, a tool like MakersHub can help with that. That magic of letting us do work fast that used to not be able to be fast. So
yeah, and that's like what we talk about. It's like the struggle of traditional AP, right? It's so labor intensive. It's, especially if you want to do it right. If you use a traditional, like I like to call legacy OCR product, you're getting like 6 data points. You're getting the client name, hopefully. You're getting the invoice amount, hopefully the due date, but not really, because, or I'm sorry, the payment terms. and then maybe a few other things. But it's not helpful, especially when you have to go in and review all the errors. It's just, there's no value in that. So what we're talking about is the best part about using a value-based product is making your client feel like you're spending hours on them, but you're not really. You're using technology to get to the point where your brain is actually doing the work. Because I don't think any of us got into this industry to do data entry. It's unfortunately a necessary evil. Uh-oh, you're on mute, Kate.
Sorry, I know you had a couple things you wanted to share with us, like teaching-wise, before we did the demo. Should we share screen now, or?
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Here we go. Adding that to the screen.
Okay, so we're talking about this in a value-based. So data, and we showed this last time, right? But this is a very important aspect of what we're talking about. These are all non-value added, but unfortunately, this little portion right here has become like what people think bookkeeping does. Bookkeeping does data entry. Bookkeeping does data reconciliation, gets us to our trial balances as quick as possible, and they do general ledger maintenance. Fortunately, 90% of this now can be taken care of by AI. So where does that leave the bookkeeper? Well, it depends on what you want your value prop to be. And this is what we talked about last time, right? Is like, my value proposition is not just data entry. Now, what can I do with that data? What is the value I'm going to do? And what ancillary products now can I add to my book of business that add more value to a client?
Well, and so many of us were like trying to become smarter. We're trying to be able to be more advisors. But if we don't have more, we can't make more hours in the day at the same time. So we have to figure out a way to still get all that great bookkeeping tasks, the non-value add bookkeeping tasks, perfect. Like that's what we were good at. But we want to be able to do more that we can charge more for. So yep. Something has to give. Something has to give.
And here's the thing: if you don't feel comfortable being that, like, I am going to take all the numbers, the number guru, and tell a story with the numbers, because some people don't, right? They don't feel comfortable. There's AI that can help you along the way as you get started with this, but there's also like, okay, so let's start adding valued services that don't take me a lot of time. So if you don't feel comfortable with the strategic financial planning and all this other risk management, performance analysis, you can slowly get into that while you add ancillary services over here. And then hopefully what you're doing is you're taking these and reversing them, where you've gotten your non-value add down to 30% or less, and you've got all the other stuff over to the 70%. That's where we want to be in this whole spectrum.
Yeah, those of you who are listening live, I'm curious if you are more of the non-value add tasks or the value add tasks that he shared right here. You can keep going, Ted, but okay, just curious what people think.
Okay, so here's what eats up into the financial impact on bookkeepers is that this is what the thought of AP is that processing individually invoices can take up to 30 to 35% of your time. It's huge. And the rates, what you can charge for it versus what it costs to actually do, it restricts business growth. Because, I mean, if you take a 68-page invoice, and I'm going to show you that today, one of the things I'm going to do today is I'm going to take a 68-page invoice with 63 bills inside of it. So you have to know where one ends, one begins, and it has over 3,000 entry line items that we're gonna show you, like the power of using AI in a product like MakersHub, what it can do for this whole process that we're talking about right here. All these stacks of receipts and bills. How do we get it to where it looks like a lot of work? And it builds a ton of value. So your clients are like, yep, here, Ted, I receive 500 bills a month. I don't want to do it anymore. I have a full-time employee. All they do is enter in bills. That's a ridiculous amount of time and energy for a client to spend, that you can say, okay, Mr. Client, well, I'm going to only charge you a quarter of that salary. to do it for you.
I that's what I was thinking. The price of an employee would be huge. I mean,
Astronomical.
I just want to be clear that to folks, if that's like, so I don't work with any clients who have 500 bills a month, but I mean, a lot of you do, and that's those are the places where we should be charging a lot of money. So like, I feel like I charge a pretty good amount for my clients, and I have small guys. So Ted has experienced companies with 500 bills a month, and those prices should be just out, just out skyrocket. Yeah, I just want to encourage y'all that in these pricing conversations. That's
and if you think about if you think about value-based pricing, and we talked about this a little bit, would you rather have 100 small clients or 10 large clients?
Why you hating on me like that, Ted? Come on.
Me personally, if I can build that value, first of all, large clients are much more loyal than small clients. Small, and they're much more steady, and they have the flexibility to spend the budget that they want, because they budget for these things. Small clients go out of business. Small clients say, you know what? QuickBooks called me and said that they have hourly help, that they can do it for $8 an hour. You're always getting underbid. But if you build value in a larger client and they value what you're doing for them, you become an extension of their workforce in a sense. And they're not going to search around for somebody else. In fact, the person you're working with is probably knows 10 other clients that they might be able to refer you into it if you're doing that special of a job. Remember what we talked about last week, where I said I had CPAs that said I want my client to call me when they actually want to know what type of tire to buy for their car. That's the type of client that's going to refer you out, because they want you to succeed. So we're going to talk a little bit about turning this right here on the left-hand side into this right here. And there is a hidden opportunity to add value, because clients extremely dislike this whole AP process. But there's a way to make it easy for them. And it is a service specifically for medium-sized to large-sized clients that they want to actually offload, if you can show them that you can do it right. You can, like we talked about, remember with that employee, they could actually either repurpose that employee. I like to say repurpose instead of fire the employee, because a lot of people don't like to think that they're going to fire an employee, but they can repurpose that employee to do something that's better than just data entry. And this allows you to create this pretty cool this revenue stream for your clients. And we always talk about in like products like ADP or Paychecks with these ancillary add-ons, like so if you're looking at payroll, add-ons are like 401k, Med 125 plans. They make the product sticky. So anything you can add to your value-based service makes you sticky to the client. And what does that mean? It's harder to fire you because you're doing so much for them.
Yeah, and as our relationships with clients, even if you start small, guys, which is kind of like, how I started, if these businesses are succeeding, they're going to grow into these services too. So like start on the home team, that the ones that you have, with getting these services in there, and then the referrals will come. And it seems like a really strong model now that there's the tech, right? That's what we have to get to. We have to get I know that I could not do AP. I could not pick a stack of bills and enter them in a bookkeeper. I'm not built. That is not my zone of genius. Would never do that.
Can you imagine just spending out, like as a bookkeeper, not using automation and spending hours and hours doing data entry of bills, and the clients, like, especially like, let's just say it's a restaurant, construction client, or manufacturing, because this now lets you go into different types of businesses as well. So now you get into a manufacturing and you're like, hey, I can do your bookkeeping. And they're like, great, we need you to do the AP. And we get 100 bills a week of all the stuff that we use to manufacture airplane engines. And you're like, I don't want to do that. And they're like, okay, well, I don't want you to work for me then, because that's what we need. Now you can, like you were also saying, these small clients, maybe they have just a handful of bills, but as they grow, all of a sudden they're buying more stuff and they're getting more invoices. And now little by little, if you've had the client for 2 years, they do have a lot of bills. And it's something that they don't like to do. Mm-hmm. So even like with MakersHub for our accounting partners, bookkeeping, accountants, EAs, all that, you can even go as little as $2 per bill for a client. So even if you have a client that has 10 bills, it's going to cost you $20 a month to do it, to do the payments for them and everything. $20 a month is nothing when you can charge them $100 a month.
Yeah, you make that bet all day.
Yeah. So that's what we're talking about here is utilizing services that create efficiencies, and that's what we talked about last week when we did this, is creating efficiencies in your practice. So how do we do that with AP? And so here's our profit boosting potential: cutting costs by reducing your manual work. We can save you up to 90% of your time on data entry. That's huge. So we have people that used to spend 12 to 13 hours a week inputting data, doing their bills and stuff, and now they spend 2 hours a week.
Yeah.
And so now you offer it as a scalable premium service to your clients that you already have. So, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Client, I've added a new service. I'm going to give it to you for the first 3 months at cost, just to, or whatever, cost plus 10%, just to prove that I can do this for you. And then here's what the price is going to be afterwards. If you don't find any value in it, then you can just continue doing it on your own. But now it allows us, like we were talking about, to either handle more clients because we've just boosted our efficiency, or have more time to spend at home, or up that billable hourly rate that or your own internal hourly rate that you're thinking about.
Right.
Because we all do it, right? Even like me, obviously, most of us don't get paid by the hour, but we still think about it like, okay, I get paid by this, and I work 45, 50 hours a week. Here's what my hourly wage is. How do I make that easier? By utilizing AI. And I do that all the time. I use AI. I have it in my, and I'll show you here when we get to the next thing, because I want to show you now, if I can just, I'm hitting the wrong key. I'm going to escape out of here. And I have my tools, like my AI tools. I have my MakersHub tools, and I have my social media tools. So if I want MakersHub, I just go into the tab there, and I've got all of my tools. But I have my AI tools just right here.
Wow.
To start using in these little groups to make it easier for me. But so let's go into one thing here and talk about how this all works. Okay. And we don't use.
So this isn't MakersHub. That was ChatGPT.
This is ChatGPT. We don't use. I just want to forewarn everyone, we do not use ChatGPT.
Okay.
But this is something everybody knows, so I can explain how the model actually works.
Okay.
So look at what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take, if I can find it, and this will just, I'm not saying people are dumb. I'm just saying we'll dumb it down for everybody into easy, actionable things. So I'm going to take this invoice. This is a mess of an invoice, right? It's got all the stuff that we need. It's got our customer name, our project name. Our client wants line items. Look at how gross this is. It's got the SKU number, the item number embedded or truncated in the description. It's got overlapping like quantities, piece. What's the original price? What's the list amount? What's the multiplier? It's got this order value discount. But look at how crazy this one is. It has a 4% order value discount, but nowhere on this invoice does it actually show the dollar amount of that invoice, of that discount. So it's kind of, in our pre-accounting terms, it's kind of important to know that this cost right here doesn't include this discount. You would think that it does, but it does not. The way that this client, so how are we going to get our true cost of goods sold if we don't have the real true cost of our goods? So look at what I can do here. And this is the power of AI. I'm just going to pull this over here for now, and I'm going to pull that invoice into ChatGPT. And the reason I'm doing this is because there's a difference the way that traditional OCR works. And if you don't mind for a second, I'm just going to explain the way traditional OCR works.
Well, tell us what OCR stands for.
OCR is optical character recognition.
Okay.
So what OCR does is it scans the form that you're looking at, and it recognizes the character, and the way that traditional OCR looks at that is it's already programmed in. These characters in the context of a word mean this. But in traditional OCRs, they're only searching for specific terms to extract. Okay, so in new technology, computer vision technology, I'm going to say scan this invoice or extract the data on this bill, including SKU numbers, line items, and I'm just going to say all detail. Oops. Okay, so now what it's going to do, it's going to say, here are the key details for this invoice/bill. So see, it doesn't care what it's scanning. It scans everything and then uses a large language model, which that's why we're using chat. That's the only reason why we're using ChatGPT, is because it uses a large language model to determine what everything it is. So what large language models do is it takes this information and it puts it in little what it calls tokens. So it knows that total and price means the total price of that line item. It's not searching for specific terms. So it scans everything and then determines what it is after it scans it. And that's very important when we talk about how these models work and how using something like a MakersHub can make you more efficient, because we're not scanning just for the 6 line items that traditional OCR products like a bill.com uses, okay? So if you look here, it's got everything, who it was ordered by, project name. So I could even write like stuff like who was, just to see who was this invoice, I'm just gonna call invoice ordered by. So it knows, based on tokenization, who it was ordered by. And I just want to express, hold on, sorry, that's what this does, is it will look at everything, and based on the context of what it pulled out, it will tell me who it was ordered by. See, and it also gives me the PDF, blah blah blah. But look at what I can do now. I can say, please sum the line items, the line item totals, and point out any issues compared to the invoice total. And we're doing this for a specific reason, so bear with me while we do this, okay? So what it's going to do now is it's going to add all of those line item totals. It's going to compare it to the invoice total, and now it's going to tell us, are there any issues with this? And it's telling us right now, the sum of the line items don't match the total of the invoice. And it says there's a discrepancy of approximately $509. This could indicate that a discount or adjustment might not have been accounted for in the line items. This is pretty important to know, but we may not know that as we're doing the data entry on this personally, right? If you think about, I'm the AP person who's doing this, and I'm entering in these totals, I'm not entering in the right information because the totals aren't going to match what the invoice says. So, but we're using AI to point out all of this stuff. Now we could take it and say, okay, now export this into a database and blah, blah, blah. This is just so we can understand that OCR now is more than just optical character recognition. It's knowing and doing with the content or the context that we extract. So I don't know if you have any questions or
No,
anything.
if y'all have questions in the chat, put them in the chat. No questions right now.
Cool.
I always thought ChatGPT wasn't so good at math.
It's getting better. And I am if you see all of my, like, I mean, these things go on forever. I can create little chats that can do things like I can have it act like a specific YouTube personality, and I could have it write a script for me based on that YouTube personality. Like I could have it scan all of your YouTube videos, and then I could have it write a script where I could do a script based specifically on how you talk, how you make jokes, how you do all those specific things. And then I can name it that. So anytime I want to do a bookkeeping side hustle mimic copycat, I could just say, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. Write a script like the bookkeeping side hustle would do.
Sure. Yeah.
So anyway, I love it. It's awesome. So anyway, this is everything it extracted. Line item numbers, the whole deal. So let's see now, in this whole context of what we're talking about, what we've done with MakersHub now, and I'm gonna and I'm not gonna go back into death by PowerPoint, but I'm gonna explain it to you as we go into here. So we extract almost the same way that like we just saw right there. We extract thousands of data points in a bill. And then we determine what those data points are using our own language model within the product. Okay, so we don't go out to chat. It's not just a shell of Chat GPT. We have our own language model in here. And then if we can't understand what something is in the context of the bill, we may go out to a large language model, a proprietary type large language model that's just for us to ask it, hey, we can't figure out what this is. Can you tell us what it is? It will come back and tell us what that is. But then when it gets it completely wrong, which when we first start out, we may not be 100% correct. We have about 90% accuracy right out of the box. But as you use the product, you can start training it. And as you train the product, then it gets smarter as you use it. So we can get up to about 99% accuracy in doing this.
Are you training it on specific clients? Like if I have 20 clients that I'm doing all of these additional services for, am I like turning on MakersHub for that client?
Yeah. So look, and I have all my clients here.
Okay.
So each client can be specifically different.
Okay.
So we have what we call, I'm going to go into just our integration mapping, and we have what we call QuickBooks Online integration. Okay. And this is our integration mapping area. So if you think about how like Xero pretty much changed the whole industry as far as bank feeds go and bank rules. Being able to say, hey, if it equals Staples, automatically code it to office expense, or if it equals Staples and it's larger than $500, code it to like computer equipment or something like that. Well, we've done the same thing with this integration mapping. I can say, and I'll show you an example of this. If it equals specific thing, automatically code it to a specific chart of account codes within QuickBooks Desktop or QuickBooks Online. So we're going to show you that, me and the mouse in my pocket, as we go through this. So look at what I'm going to do, just for giggles here, is we're going to go in and I'm going to show you how this actually works now. Okay, so I'm going to take this Belimo invoice. I'm going to take this glass and mirror invoice as well, because this glass and mirror invoice, we actually get it wrong. And I'm going to show you how we correct that. We don't scan one specific image on here. So I'm going to upload both because I'm going to correct it in one, and I'm going to show you now that it's corrected how it comes in the second one. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload this 68-page Home Depot bill that has 68 pages, 63 bills inside of it, and 3,000 line items. Then I'm going to do this combined sample invoice. This one's kind of cool because it has different invoices, bills, it has receipts, and it also has a handwritten invoice. So we're going to see how handwriting affects our vision model. And then the very last one I'm going to do is this Rushco, because remember I told you when we scan information, it's actually, we understand what it means. So in a traditional or a legacy OCR product, you need to hard code the payment terms to the vendor. We actually understand the payment terms where we can actually do actionable items with those payment terms, and I'm going to show you that as well. Okay.
Awesome.
I'm going to take these and I'm going to drop them in. The other thing we're going to do just for fun is I'm going to go. So one of the other reasons people don't use an AP product when doing things like a W-9 form or not W-9, I'm sorry, sorry, gosh darn it, an IRS notification form is because of payments on behalf of a client, you need to include this voucher with the check. Like 99.99 times out of 100, you're going to have to include this voucher with a payment to like the IRS or something like that. So most people can write those checks because if you're using like a product like a MakersHub or a Bill.com, they don't say, hey, I'm going to allow you to enter. They're doing it on your behalf, but I'm going to show you how with us you can. So I'm going to drop that in. But now look at just in the time that it took me to pull up that payment invoice. It already processed those 63 bills, that 68-page document. So what was that? Maybe like 47 seconds?
Yeah, maybe.
Seconds? So we're going to go into that, but I'm going to save these two for somewhat last.
And I want to back up. Is my client putting those in like a shared folder, like a shared Google Drive or a shared Dropbox, or are they sending it to? Are they putting them in MakersHub?
Yes, and yes. So there's different ways to do it. We give you your unique email address. So what a lot of our clients do, and in some cases because they're value-based or whatever, they don't let their client know that they're even using MakersHub. So what happens is their client sends it to a unique Gmail account for that specific client. So it's that client name at bookkeepinghustle.com. And they just send it there, and then it forwards it to the correct box that it comes into. So 90%,
genius.
Yeah, 90% of our clients get their or CPAs get their invoices from the client through email. The others, they have a shared Dropbox. Well, they'll upload it in here, but maybe even 95%, they get it through these unique email addresses.
I think that seems more natural behavior.
Yeah. But here's what else we can do. So we dropped in that IRS, but here's what else we can do. So we dropped it in, you get them emailed in, but look at what else we can do. So let's just say, and this is just for giggles again, you're talking with your client, or you and I are on the phone or on Zoom, and the client pulls this up and they're like, I have a question about this invoice. Can you help me? Where should this go? Blah, blah, blah. Or how do I pay this? You can tell them, and I can say, let me take a screenshot really quick of this. So all I do is take a screenshot, and then I go back into MakersHub, and I'm just going to paste the screenshot in. And so I've just pasted the screenshot of that bill. So one of the issues when I go on like my client site, and they're like, okay, I've given you access to AT&T, just download the bill, and now I have to figure out what folder am I putting it in. And then when I go to upload it, what folder did I put that stupid thing in? And yeah, it's a pain, right? And we're talking about efficiency. So why not just take a screenshot like I've done right here and plop that into MakersHub? So
awesome. That's really, there's a lot of apps that don't have Control-C, Control-V of images.
Yeah. So watch this. So here's that Blimo. Remember the Blimo? This is the one that we put up into ChatGPT, because it has that large language model. And so we have everything that's on the invoice on the left-hand side or on the bill, and everything that we've extracted, indexed, and categorized on the right-hand side. This is raw data. I haven't had to do a thing with any of this data. I didn't have to tell it what anything was. It's already synced the correct client. So we never have duplicate clients in QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Desktop. It already is matched. If it hadn't, it would say, hey, we can't find this client anywhere. Would you like, is it a new one or what? But look we have the PO, the correct PO. We have who it was shipped to or billed to, shipped to, based on the information here, and every single line item description that's in here. But if you notice, so we have everything in here, but if you notice, it's saying what ChatGPT told us with my probing a little bit. It's saying, hey, the line items don't match the sum of the invoice. We do this for every single invoice that we pull into MakersHub to make sure that it's correct. We do not allow you to move on until you've reviewed. So we're not going to allow you to do something with this unless you say, yeah, just match the sum. I don't care. But most people are going to care. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to train the system every single time to add an adjustment line, because it's not over here. There's nothing over here that I can say, oh, just add it to the invoice. I'm going to just say add an adjustment line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say anytime that this bill comes in from Belimo, automatically search the difference between the line items and the invoice total and put it in a field called discount. Now, what I can do is train the system that I want to spread that discount amongst all the line items if I'd like for the true cost of goods sold. Or if these are just services and I'm not tracking the cost of goods, but I still want to track that discount, because this is like information that is like that pre-accounting type information that it would be great to tell my client, here's how much in discounts you've gotten from Belimo over the years. Here's what you've done with, so let's put it into a specific chart of accounts code. So I'm going to go into integration mapping, and I'm going to go into chart of account codes, and I'm going to say anytime that any field that comes in equals, or any invoice that comes in equals discount, automatically code it to the chart of account codes field, vendor discounts or discounts given or whatever we want it to be. Now look, it already places it here for me. So it's already coded to the right chart of account codes. I could say anytime an inventory item comes in to MakersHub, automatically code it to the cost of goods sold chart of accounts as well. So all of this would be done. And I could also say anytime it comes in with the PO number, automatically code it to this customer job code, all of this stuff. So it's all coded in here anytime it comes in. So if not, I can say it's cell towers. If I'm doing job costing or job coding, customer coding, the class is New York, and I can just spread it all the way down and change it where it needs to be if you're using all this detailed data. But look at how easy that was. I didn't have to enter anything, but look at this. Even where we get it right. So you see the PO number is the correct PO number. But what happens if I always use project name for my PO numbers? That's just something that I do internally. I can train the system. This is one-time training to scan all those data fields and say, I want to use project name as my PO number. So what I've done is I've told the system, take that vendor discount, add it in as a discount, automatically code it to vendor discount, ignore the correct PO number that's on the invoice, and use project name instead. And all I have to do is hit approve. And if you're ever like, oh, I screwed up that training, I can just go into my OCR training and they're all right here. I can just delete it and it will go right back to where it was in the beginning. And so all I do is approve that.
When you hit approve, what is that doing? When you hit approve, what is that doing? What does that mean? That's a scary word to me.
It depends on how you do. It puts it into this accounts payable area right here.
Okay.
And it all depends. And I want to show you this because it was brought up. Because we can contextualize all this data, we have approval workflows that go beyond just dollar amount. So what we can do now is say, because we have unlimited users on here, I can say when the total amount is equal to or greater than $0, which means anything that comes into MakersHub is just going to go into the AP department group. So if I have 4 people in that group, any of the 4 can approve, or I can just select it as a person. But if the total amount is over $5,000, it first goes to Diana Joe. Secondly, after she approves it, goes to Orion Edwards. Or it could, if I unclick this approve sequentially, it goes to both of them at the exact same time.
And are Diana and Joe my employees, or are they the company, my client's employees?
Yes and yes, whatever you want them to be.
Okay.
And I'll show you how this works even better like this, okay? So now I can say if the class equals this, if the vendor name is this, if the PO is this, here are all my approval processes based on all of these different aspects of what we've uncovered, right? PO number, class, customer, if the location, all of these things, because we're doing stuff with smart data instead of dumb data, right? Now, what we can also do is say, let's just say our very last approval is your client. Now, we don't need the client to go into MakersHub to view anything. I'm going to set him up as a user, and I'm going to allow him to approve through email. So we're going to send your client an email that says, hey, you have to approve this bill, and they can review the bill, and they can approve it straight through email. Now, what we also allow it to do, and so that's where you would also do an external approval right here. Now, what we also allow you to do, so some of the bookkeeping firms may say, okay, I want to do all of the approvals, all that stuff, but the very last thing that's going to happen is that my client is going to approve the payments, especially payments that are over $50,000 or $25,000. Any other ones, that's fine, I can approve. Don't worry about it. But any approvals over a specific amount or by a specific vendor, my client asks to approve it. So that's where the different approvals based on if it's a payment or a bill and all this stuff really comes into play. So to get back, that was kind of a rather winded answer. It doesn't matter if it's your own internal employee, your client, or whomever. We have the flexibility to do that.
I just keep thinking of the increasing services, and so like maybe it's someone internally because they're comfortable, right? And then you just go in and change that user after 3 months once you've convinced the person to let you be one of the two approver. You know, like you keep saying, hey, when you're ready, I can approve that for you, and then we can let another person at each location site, because you can now sort by location, right? So maybe those those site owners can your site managers can be the second approver, I'll be one approver, and then you hit pay or whatever. Think about it, changing it.
Yeah, think about it this way. You have a client, and this is somebody that I was on a webinar for her on the Appy Hour webinar. This is she's got a client that's that has 7 different locations. All their employees send in their invoices into one area right here. They first get approved by the main AP department, and then the final approver, it goes back to that location like you were just talking about, okay, where one person approves it at all those different locations all over the place. So, and there's unlimited, and then the thing you said, where they're trying it out. Mr. Client, I'm going to allow you to approve every single bill that goes out while we do this little test. So you can see that they're all correct. It's going to come to you for a payment approval. And then after you're comfortable with what I'm doing, I'll just send the $50,000 and more to you. So that's how this really works well. So let's go into this one, and then we'll get down the nitty gritty. But look, this is one where we actually missed it. We're saying, hey, it doesn't match. It's $203, and it's because of this right here, $203. We can see it really easy. There is a line item on the invoice that we've actually missed. Now watch this. I can go, boom, add an item because it's actually on the invoice. And now, because we extract every single data point, I can just type in surcharge, and I just trained the system that, hey, you missed an item called surcharge. Now, anytime that we're going to take the extraction up a little bit more, and I'm going to create a data mapping that says anytime that it equals surcharge, automatically code it to the field surcharge and convenience fee, and not the field, but the chart of account code. And so now it says surcharge and convenience fee. It's actually extracted it out. Now watch what happens when I approve it. The next one comes in, and I don't have to do a thing. It already knows that to look for the surcharge. It already knows to code it to convenience fee, and all I do is hit approve.
At what point is this talking to the bookkeeping software? Like
whenever you want it to. So Some people say wait until the very last approver approves it. Some people want it to approve or send to QuickBooks the minute you approve it, because your approval process is maybe this big. So, but I want the reality of where I am in QuickBooks the minute the first approval goes through. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. I just I get a little skittish whenever, at that moment of connection with the bookkeeping software. So
Yeah.
I like that you give us some power for us folks with trepidation. So
Yeah.
that's
We
that's good.
yeah, we call it like the people with control, with like not control issues, but need control. We give you the control to do everything, and I'll show you that as well. So look I'm approving this one just because but let's just look real quick at I'm going to approve this IRS one really quickly. I've set up rules so it extracts every year that that the penalty is in, and I'm just going to approve this because I want to show you a couple of things. But look at this Home Depot one. This is the one that had the 68 pages. We know where one page ends or one invoice ends, the next one begins, and we've extracted all this line item detail from every single bill. Look at this. How long would that have taken you to get right and to extract all of this data that is very, very important for these types of clients? Okay.
Yeah, so I'm in my mind, like I'm thinking when you just wait for the charge to come through for the Home Depot bill, but they're probably not paying their bills like that. They're probably having this like approval process, and it's each one of those things. Like if you want to be able to track your progress of like cost of the project, I'm guessing those Home Depot charges all had different dates too, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so
100%.
that's important. So that way you don't have this lumpy. I spent $50,000 at Home Depot in July. Well, it's like no, you spend it in May, June, and July, and we
Yeah.
want it to show up in every single month.
And look at this. It has it extracted every single PO number as well to the minute detail. So not only do you have it in different dates, right? They're not all, it was when it was uploaded, but the date here is going to be different. So we've extracted everything for you to make it actually make sense, depending on, cash basis or accrual or all that type of stuff. So that's what's really cool about this. And then the one last one I'm going to show you, and then I want to show you what the payments look like, is this one. This one is the same. It's extracted everything out. But take a look at this. It actually, like I said, it read the handwriting. It knows that it's a bunch of CASA, whatever. It's 35. There's two of them, $70. And I've also set up a rule that says anytime that my client comes in, or my employee comes in, they're going to tell you the PO number. Please write it in the memo field. So I've set up a training that says anytime that something comes in from Camera Plus, automatically scan the M field and then use the data, whatever that is in there. So I can even extract data from a memo field and use it as my PO. So maybe my employee comes in and says, it's PO number 23-145. So that's what the guy writes in there, and then it's going to pull in, and now I have it matched up.
That's awesome. That's amazing. My handwriting's terrible, so I gotta print nicely in this day of AI.
So here's the thing: as long as you can read it, the chances are that our wise vision can read it, because computer vision understands handwriting as well.
That's amazing.
That being said, so look at this now. I can now select all of them and schedule the payments all on time or all at once. Now, the cool thing about this is there's no reason for a clearing account either, because all of these are going to come out individually from the client's bank account. So bank reconciliation is going to be like a snap, because all of these are going to come out separately. So it's not going to just be one lump sum of $20,000. It'll be a $44,823 and so on and so forth. But look at what it's done. Remember, I told you it's not just reading dumb, stupid data. It's actually using the data to do something with. Now, most people have not used payment terms to their advantage because it takes a lot of time. So let AI do it for us. And I've just saved my client $200 by clicking 2 buttons, because I have that payment term of 10% if it's paid within 10 days. Now,
so is it going to map to an early payment discount code as soon as you hit that?
Yeah,
is it going to add a line?
Yeah, watch. I don't have to add anything. So I'm not going to, now I would just schedule payments. So let's see how this goes into QuickBooks. And that will be our last little aha moment. So I'm going to go into QuickBooks online. It goes with QuickBooks Desktop, any version of QuickBooks right now. We're doing Intact and NetSuite, but that's in a while. So I'm going to go in and look at. I'm just going to go into search for my recent transactions, and I'm going to go into Rushco because this is the one where we had the payment discount, right? So look at, I have my net terms discount. If I had it scheduled, it would have scheduled into the correct where I wanted it to go, but it has it here already in the bill. I haven't made the payment yet, so it just goes in as a bill, right? So I have all of my amounts. I have all the item detail that we sent through. If you see, I mean, it's got everything in here that was sent through on the invoice, and we send this in the memo field for you. So if you ever want to see the actual bill, it's just sitting right here for you. We don't send the attachment because that would make your API integration go so slow if we sent every single bill in. All we do is we send the link, and you have it for as long as you're on not MakersHub, but as long as you're on QuickBooks, you have this information.
So the link is saving to the cloud where?
In Amazon Web Services.
And so if this client breaks up with their bookkeeper who was using MakersHub, in their QB file, they'll be able to always access this PDF.
Yep. Even if they're not using MakersHub anymore. It lives in the cloud now forever. Okay. So the other thing is, if I mark this as paid here, which I'm not going to do because it's going to screw up my whole thing, it will mark it as paid in MakersHub. So I can pay still through QuickBooks if I want, and it will just mark it as paid here. If I mark it as paid here, it's going to mark it as paid in QuickBooks.
Glorious. Yep.
Yeah. If I make a change in QuickBooks to anything that we have in here as well, like maybe it's just a phone number for your vendor, it's going to update your vendor in MakersHub as well. And vice versa. If I change a phone number in MakersHub, it's gonna update QuickBooks. That's just how well it works. So that is like, I mean, if you think about, then one more thing, sorry, the payments. If you pay it through MakersHub, you have so much ability to do things that you've never had before. Like if your client calls you and says, "Hey, my vendor said they never received this payment." Now you can go in and say, "Well, Mr. CFO or Mr. Owner, here's a copy of the check that they cashed. Here's the back image of the endorsed check that they cashed. You can put a stop payment as long as they haven't cashed the check yet on it with no additional charge right now through MakersHub. And if it was paid through ACH, I have all of my ACH information here. I can say, no, Mr. Client, here's the ACH, the routing number that we pulled from. Here are the last four of the account and the routing number that we paid from. And here's the ACH tracing number."
Is MakersHub the one that sent that check?
Yeah, MakersHub would be the one that sent that check.
Okay. I was going to say, I wonder how it got in there.
We pull the data, and that's everything that we have sent. And now specifically for like this IRS, and then this will be it. Look at this is my last aha. So this IRS, this is the payment that we want to send along with the check. I'm just going to take a screenshot of it like we did before. And then I'm just going to hover over here and I'm going to hit paste. So here's the screenshot. I can say it's a payment slip or payment voucher. I can type it in. I'm just going to hit add. It's here now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in to schedule this payment, and I'm going to take that payment slip that I just took that screenshot with, and I'm going to attach it to the printed document. So here's what's going to come out with my printed check from MakersHub is this payment voucher.
That's awesome.
And then I can just schedule the payment. Nobody's ever done something. So if we're thinking about like, how do we become more efficient? This is like efficiency on steroids, because think about a client that says, "Oh yeah, Mr. or Mrs. Bookkeeper that's trying to sell me your services. It takes us 3 days to enter, invoices. We spend 3 days a week just entering in bills and invoices or bills." And you're like, "I can do that for you. Don't worry. And I'll give it to you cost plus 10%. You don't have to say that. I'll let you do it at a significant discount for the first couple of months, just to prove, the proof is in the pudding. And then here's what it's going to be afterwards." Guess what? Once they see that efficiency, they're gonna pay whatever you told them to pay.
Whatever you pay, yeah, whatever, and
Yeah,
then increasing the price every year.
Yeah, and then you're like, okay. And I would hope that if you're using that type of a method of let's try it out and see, that the after tryout price is significantly higher than what your tryout price was, because they're going to see the value, especially in these large firms or large businesses.
And this is how we have to think about this. It's like, it's the stickiness of the clients. Like, I always try to tell people that, like, starting a bookkeeping business, like, if you need to be rich tomorrow, like, this is not the way to do it. But if you have the long game, y'all, if you can think like, I want to do this for 10 years, and that's the mentality I want people to have, because I think there's a lot of stuff on the internet that maybe is kind of thinking it's like a quick get in, get out type of a business. And no, but the real way to make this lucrative is to have those sticky clients that you continue to upsell because your services have helped them grow, and you keep increasing their prices. You get better. You don't have to, like, you're embedded almost at this point, like, them. And so it's like not even having to think that hard.
Well, yeah, what's better, 100, like I said before, 100 clients, but with a 10% margin, or 10 large clients with a 35% margin, if you could get it up that high. I mean, come on. Obviously, it depends on what your gross revenue is and all that stuff, but I would take the larger clients. And guess what? If you're in it to turn around and maybe make some cash selling out to another firm, the value of larger clients to a firm that wants to purchase a bookkeeping practice or whatever is a lot more than 100 wanky little tiny clients that your turnover is. I mean, if your turnover is 110% or even like 60, let's not hope not 110, but on small clients, it could be, especially with today's, the way things are in business today. But if you have a 70% turnover or attrition rate, holy smokes, that's crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any last thing you want to tell us, Ted?
Well, somebody put on here, is this something that if they should learn QuickBooks first? I would say you need to learn. If you don't know QuickBooks and you don't know any other accounting product, yes, you need to learn how to do the data entry on your own, because doing data entry and not knowing where the data is going is a recipe for madness.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Okay, y'all, if you want to try out MakersHub, it is in the link for our communities in the description below. And I want to keep this conversation going about, again, because we're trying to build these bespoke firms that work for us. I love this idea of AP is definitely one of those things where, it's able to be done at any hours of the day. There's probably not a lot of client interaction after a couple of months. It really is one of those things where if you need to do it at 5 a.m, you can do this. You're not meeting about this stuff, right? This is kind of some grindy type work, but that the AI has taken it away, taken the pain away. So I think this is a great thing for people to be able to add. I'd love for y'all to, like, stay in touch about, like, how it's going. Like, if Ted's full of hot air, come and tell us. No, Ted, I'm still broke doing AP. Like, I can't make a living on this. Well, let's talk about it. But because I see that there was a time whenever it would be really painful, and I can see how with technology it is not painful. But don't take our words for it. Test it out. Try it out on your nicest client. Try it on the client who hates this the most. I love some of your suggestions about how to kind of dip your toes in a non-committal way. Shoot, you can say after 3 months, you might want out. And if you don't want to do it, then the person can go back to doing it, right?
Exactly. So, let's see how it works for a few months. And here's one thing I just want to leave you all with, because you can train the system to do it. Like I said, if you have an assistant doing this for you, you don't have to train the new assistant when they come in. You just have to train them on how to use MakersHub. You don't have to train them on how to utilize the different invoices that come in. Think of it on the adverse, where you can't train the system. Now, when a new employee comes in, the upheaval that produces is incredible. But you don't have to do this now. You just have to train them on the system, and you send them to MakersHub for that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and that's when you call Ted, y'all, and his team will they are, the way these companies like Ted's works is, they know that once y'all start using this, you won't stop. You are going to want to use it and put all your clients on it. So he has team members that are going to answer any question you have. They'll help onboard you. They'll help answer your questions. They'll help you do it, keep doing it better. They've got training all the time. So Ted, this was great. I think that you made a compelling case. I love to hear the devil's advocate. So if anyone, like I said, if anyone disagrees, he can handle it, and he wants to take it back to his developers and
100%.
And make it better. So like stay in touch about that. That's the way that we as a profession will continue to be elevated, is by helping each other build great products. We'll end with what DJ's asking here. If you could use this on small clients, it seems like you could scale up pretty quickly. I mean, to outsource AP, we're not talking the smallest clients, right, Ted?
Yeah, well, you can scale the client. I think he's saying, like, right now he just corrected. He said to bigger clients.
Oh yeah.
Because we have pay as you go, where it's $2 a bill that comes in, you could use it for smaller clients. It just depends on what value do they have in the data. Like, smaller clients just care about getting their bills paid for the most part. But if it's a smaller client that builds like computer network systems, they may need it, right? Because they need to track every single thing that comes in. Or if it's a small restaurant, they need to track their food costs. So yeah, I mean, it'll help you scale your product for sure. I mean, your services.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, we're gonna wrap up. Ted is reachable on at the link below. If you sign up for MakersHub, that's probably a good way to connect with him. He's also available. You hang out on LinkedIn, right, Ted?
Yep.
Yeah.
LinkedIn under Ted McRae.
Ted McRae. Ted, thank you. We really appreciate how you've been generous. Y'all, watch that first video. This doesn't work if you price hourly, okay? If you're one of those, you got to watch our video. It's in the description below. It was last week how he was teaching us about value pricing, which was a really great talk. All right, adios for now, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.